Good evening, America. 11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. 1 year ago, our country was dead. We were absolutely dead.
Hello, folks, and welcome back. All right, well, buckle up, buttercups. We're diving headfirst into a transcript where the mainstream media, bless their hearts, try to tell us what they think about the Trump speech. They're already calling it a bomb and a huge mistake. But you know what? Sometimes what the establishment calls a mistake, the American people call common sense. We're going to break down their outrage, cut through the spin, and figure out what really went down. As a reminder, please like and subscribe to our channel. Now let's find the real truth.
Our country is ready to fail. It's their fault. It is not the Republicans' fault. It's the Democrats' fault. Democrat politicians also sent the cost of groceries soaring, but we're solving that too. And it's not done yet. But boy, are we making progress. Nobody can believe what's going on.
In his regal and incredibly inspiring address to the nation last night, President Donald Trump told lie after lie, but that's really the standard for him.
Lie after lie after lie. Wow. Talk about setting a tone right off the bat. It's like these people woke up, smelled coffee, and decided today was Bash Trump Day, just like every other day. But let's pump the brakes for a second. Is it really lie after lie, or is it some different style of communication that drives the mainstream media absolutely bonkers? Trump speaks like a businessman, not a polished politician. He talks in big strokes, in terms of success and winning. He doesn't get boggled down in the political pundits love to dissect. When he says, I inherited a mess and I'm fixing it, he's not giving you a detailed economic report. He's giving you a mission statement, a promise. And frankly, a lot of Americans feel that way. They feel he is fixing things, or at least trying to fix things compared to the status quo they're used to. The idea that the standard for him is just a lazy way to dismay anything he says without actually engaging with the substance. It's a prepackaged narrative. Oh, it's Trump. He always lies. So we don't even need to listen to him. That's not journalism, folks. That's activism. And exactly why so many regular people in America have turned out these kinds of outlets. Let's be real. Every politician, from local dog catcher to the president, uses rhetorical exaggerations and selective data. The difference with Trump is that he doesn't sound like a politician. He sounds like your uncle at Thanksgiving telling you how great his business is and how everything's going well and how he's going to fix the falsehood. And he's just direct. He's often crude, and he certainly doesn't speak in a careful, focused group language of the political class. And for a lot of people, that's refreshing. When they talk about lie after lie, they're often referring to things that are, at worst, hyper, or at the best, a different interpretation of data. For example, if Trump says the economy is booming, and then when they point to one specific metric that's down, is that a lie? Or is it a difference in perspective on the overall trend? Think about it this way. Is your favorite sports team win a championship and the coach says, we're the best team in the league, period? Is he lying because some other teams had a better regular season record? No, he's celebrating. He's projecting confidence. He's speaking to the spirit of the movement. Trump does that, but in politics. And established media just can't handle it because it doesn't fit their neat little box.
Now, we all thought that there was a huge likelihood that the president was going to announce a war with Venezuela. But that didn't happen. Instead, it was really a lengthy copy and paste speech where we heard much of the same things that he's been saying. Lots of blame toward the Democrats, even though he's been in office for quite some time. We're going to give you the highlights. But before we do, Cenk, what are your 2 cents?
Yeah, I'm really curious as to whether they changed the speech at the last second because it might have to do with Tucker Carlson and the reaction that this war in Venezuela or potential war is getting. And then I analyzed it last night, and I want to give you guys the details of what he said right and wrong, including one thing he said last night that I gave him credit for, which I'm going to now retract because of we found out the reality today.
All right, that's fantastic. So, for those who might have missed the show yesterday, where I played the clip of what Tucker Carlson had to say about Trump's speech before he gave it, this is what we're referring to.
members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president. Who knows, by the way, if that will actually happen? I don't know. And I never want to overstate what I know, which is pretty limited in general. But a member of Congress told me that this morning.
Now, that was on Judge Andrew Napolitano's show. And honestly, when Tucker Carlson had said that, I really felt that it was in line with some of the other actions that the Trump administration has been taking, including the military buildup off the coast of Venezuela, the fact that the US had seized a sanctioned Venezuelan oil tanker. And then on Tuesday, Trump ratcheted up tensions by announcing a naval blockade on all sanctioned oil tankers going in and out of Venezuela. But Trump didn't mention Venezuela at all during his address last night. Instead, he ranted about Joe Biden, the Democrats. He kind of yelled at the American people because, that'll make you politically popular, about all his great economic accomplishments, which was one of Biden's major foibles, telling Americans that the economy is booming, everything is great, when they were really feeling a lot of pain in their pocketbooks. Now Trump is repeating the exact same mistake. Now he claimed that inflation has stopped, which is not true. He said that there has been an $18 trillion investment in the United States during his second term, which is wildly exaggerated. He claimed that his executive order on drugs, or drug prices, I should say, was bringing prices down by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%, which isn't mathematically possible. And he also lied about how much the price of like eggs and Thanksgiving turkeys have dropped. Now, the price of oil has actually dropped because there's been increased supply. And so that definitely, gas prices have gone down. The price of oil goes down, and that translates to the gas pump being a lot cheaper for Americans. But other than that, the price of groceries is really hurting Americans today. Now, Cenk covered the speech in more detail last night, and we'll link you to that video below so you can take a look at that. It was his immediate reaction following Trump's speech. But aside from all of his usual, bragging, the question now is why he gave this address in the first place. Because typically when a president gives a special address like this, it's because they want to announce something new, something that's going to happen. And the president wants to make his case for it. But that's not what happened last night. And so we'll get to some of the other reactions in just a moment. But Cenk, I want to get right to the conversation. What do you think happened here?
Yeah. So first off, I want to tell you guys a poll that we're doing because I'm really not sure about this. These are the polls that I love. We got it up on tyt.com. Probably have it up on YouTube community as well. Why do you think Trump gave the speech last night? A, to rally his base. B, to respond to the recent criticism. C, to influence public opinion on the economy. D, to start a war, but then scrapped it once he realized his base hated it. So go and help us figure that out at tyt.com. Okay, so now guys, I'll add in some of the things that Anna said about the lies, and then I'll retract something I said yesterday. So every lie is hilarious. He said every new job created since he's been president has gone to an American-born citizen. Not just a citizen, but an American-born citizen. There's like 25 million naturalized citizens. Not one of them got a job this year. So the speech was in the teleprompter. That means it was written. So they wrote these outrageous lies into the speech. It's hilarious. He said prices are way down. They're up 3% since last year. The average family's paying $208 a month extra in bills. $208, that's a lot. He said the unemployment is the best we've ever had in America. It's the worst in the last 4 years. It's at 4.6%. It was just one comical lie after another. But Anna, I like the warrior dividend that he said. He said, all right, look, we raised $200 billion from the tariffs, which we did. That's not an extra 200. It's on top of what we normally, it's combined all the tariffs and we already have some. But hey, it's more than we used to get. And he said, I'm gonna give it to the military service members, a check of $1,776 because of the anniversary, or 250th anniversary, and that's a warrior dividend. I was like, well, that's smart. It's optically smart, and in terms of policy, I'd rather have it go to them than someone else. And it turns out, of course, he was lying. It's not true. So it turns out they're taking it out of the housing budget, not out of the tariffs.
All right, let's unpack this warrior dividend accusation. The hosts are saying Trump lied, that he claimed it was from tariffs, but it's actually from the housing budget. and it was just an upfront payment of existing appropriations. Now, if we take their word as gospel, it sounds bad, right? Two-bit con man, they say, but let's apply a little critical thinking, shall we? First, the idea of a warrior dividend itself, giving money directly to the military service members, is a fantastic concept. Who among us doesn't want to see our brave men and women in uniform rewarded? This is a policy that deeply resonates with a huge chunk of America, especially conservatives who prioritize our military. So the intent here is noble, regardless of the accounting ledger. Secondly, take it out of the housing budget. Now, I'm no Pentagon accountant, but government budgets are notoriously complex. You've got line items, transfers, reallocations, and funds that can often be moved around within departments. Is it a lie to say that it's from the tariff if the spirit of the policy is to reallocate funds that were already freed up or generated elsewhere? Even if the direct transfer isn't a one-to-one tariff to check transaction? Or is it simply a matter of how the money is tracked internally versus how the policy is communicated externally? Think about it like this. If you say, I'm going to use the extra money I made from selling old furniture to buy a new grill, but then you realize that the extra money actually just went into your general savings and you're drawing from savings for the grill, are you a con man? Or are you just saying you're using available funds that were boasted by a particular source? The average person understands the spirit of the message, not the exact ledger entity. And let's not forget, the hosts here are desperate to find fault. They're already labeling him a liar repeatedly. Liar, liar, liar. So any perceived discrepancy, no matter how small or how easily explained by bureaucratic accounting, becomes a great lie, a huge lie. It's confirming basis in action. They want him to be a con man, so they interpret everything he does through their lenses. The claim that it's nothing new at all because it was housing subsidies, they're going to give him over a couple of years, they're going to give him an upfront payment. Well, an upfront payment is something new, isn't it? It's a different method of delivery. And for many military families, giving a lump sum versus stretching out a number of years could incredibly be beneficial to that family. It provided immediate relief, immediate recognition that's a policy choice, not necessarily a lie.
And it was a housing budget in the military, and that budget had already passed. So it's nothing new at all. And instead of giving them the housing subsidies they were going to give them over a couple of years, they're going to give them in an upfront payment. But it's for the housing that was already appropriated. So it was one giant lie. So that's who Donald Trump is. He's a two-bit con man. And Anna, what I'm thrilled about is that his own base is catching on. So,
Of course. I mean, how could
yeah.
you not? Especially when he lies as brazenly as what he had to say about the money going to our soldiers. A lot of those soldiers happen to be Republican voters. You think they're not going to notice that you con them, that you use them as pawns in your little political stunt? I mean, it's just so utterly disgusting. But also, the tariff money that we managed to collect as a result of Trump's Liberation Day tariffs and trade war, a pretty significant portion of that money, at least he claims, is going to go toward helping some of the farmers who have been severely harmed by his tariff policy. So, I mean, we'll see if that actually happens, but that's what he's claiming. Yeah, definitely. Now, in terms of what Tucker Carlson predicted was going to happen during this speech, and the fact that it didn't actually happen, Trump did not announce that we're going to war with Venezuela, even though we kind of are at war with Venezuela. It's like a one-sided war where our military keeps attacking Venezuelan fishing boats. The question is why that, inconsistency. What really happened? Now, was Trump planning to talk about Venezuela, but he backed out once he realized that going to war with Venezuela is not popular, especially among members of his base? We don't know for sure, but we do have a little bit of additional behind the scenes details to share with you. So apparently, when the cameras stopped rolling, Trump partially revealed why he decided to give that speech. So this is an account from Andrew Feinberg, a reporter for The Independent, who was actually in the room during the address. He writes on X, Some color from in the room. When the remarks wrapped and the president was given the all clear, Donald Trump turned to the press and said, "You think that's easy?" And then took a swig of Diet Coke. Now that doesn't really give us any information, but I'm glad we're sharing it with you because it gives you a sense of like what an insane narcissist he is behind the scenes. You think that's easy? Then Feinberg writes, after his Diet Coke swig, Donald Trump turned to his staff and asked how he did. They all responded some version of great, very good. It looked really good. He then said Susie Wiles told him he had to give an address to the nation. I don't know if that's true. It could be that he intended to announce that we're going to war with Venezuela, realized how unpopular that is and how it will lead to political ramifications, especially for the midterms, and maybe backed out. But at that point, he needs to save face. You can't promote an address to the nation and then suddenly cancel it. People are going to wonder why. So maybe Susie Wiles decided you need to give some sort of address. And so they did copy and paste from older speeches. And he gave that honestly incredibly boring speech he gave last night.
Yeah. So I'm not sure either. It's impossible to know. But here are the things we do know. First of all, there is a concerted campaign against Tucker Carlson. So if he's saying something, they want to try to disprove it. The pro-Israel crowd, I mean, the degree to which they hate me and Anna are pales in comparison to how much they hate Tucker Carlson. And that is a lot. Okay. So that's part of it, but I have no idea if that's a tiny part or a big part of it. Is Susie Wiles as savvy? I've given her credit many times. And if she just counseled him to give this speech overall, I still think it was a good idea. And guys, I want you to
What?
yeah, hold on. I want our audience to be savvy enough, and I think you guys are. It's just I get frustrated sometimes when people kind of mishear what I'm saying. So when I say Susie Wiles, I respect her and I think she's a good strategist, doesn't mean that I like her policies and I would favor the people she's backing. It means game recognizes game. That's all, right? So the reason why I think it's a good idea, Anna, even if it was divorced from changing the speech and none of that happened, right? Is because why not take a marketing opportunity? Like when Biden was getting slaughtered by views on inflation, but his unemployment numbers were pretty good, and inflation vis-a-vis the rest of the world was not that bad. I thought he should have given a lot more speeches explaining that context, and he never defended himself, and he got killed in the press for it, and maybe rightfully so. But certainly, making your own defense would have helped. And but so Trump constantly is marketing himself. And we say that a lot of the military service members will realize that it was just a housing appropriation that they're getting, but probably some of them won't. Probably a lot of people will hear that and think, man, he stood up for the warriors and what a great guy. And so this nonstop marketing that Trump does clearly works. I mean, he's won the presidency twice. So I don't begrudge him that. And I'm used to his maniacal lying. So that just comes with the territory. So, and these days his record is poor enough that it's kind of hard to defend without lying. So you see what I'm saying? Strategically, if I was the president, I would give these kind of speeches probably as often as possible.
So I think in general, if we didn't know the content of the address he gave last night, I would in general agree with you. But I think given the subject matter, which again has to do with affordability, which he thinks is a made up word, has to do with inflation, has to do with what Americans are personally, very intimately experiencing on a day to day basis. They're not going to believe the lies because they know what they're experiencing personally. You get what I'm saying? So if he were to, let's say, give an address on something foreign policy related, well, Americans aren't necessarily personally feeling the impact of the policies he's pursuing or how damaging they might be. His economic policies, and in particular, the sloppy, ham-handed way he rolled out his tariff policy has had a negative impact on our economy, and specific sectors within our economy. So I think what happens, and this is what happened to Obama, Remember, at the tail end of his second term, he gave a speech somewhere in middle America. I can't remember exactly which city it was in, but the whole point of his speech was to brag about how he saved the economy. Well, Homeboy was giving a speech it was like in the middle of the country that had been gutted of all sorts of factory jobs because of outsourcing. So they were furious. It actually led to a lot of backlash against Obama because it made it clear to that community that he was speaking to an issue that he was actually super out of touch on, because there was so much suffering in the very community that he was speaking about or speaking to about the wonderful things he did for the economy. I think that economic messaging is probably the one area in which politicians are going to have a much harder time lying to the American people. And that's why I was trying to get, Democratic voters to understand in the lead up to the 2024 election that you can't pretend something exists when it doesn't exist. You can't pretend like the economy is doing great when we all know that's not really the case. When we all know that inflation has really hurt Americans during the Biden administration. And, all the lies that came along with it, including the idea that it was just transitory.
Yeah, so let me tell you real quick what I would have done if I was Trump, and to the point you're making about Obama, and then I'll tell you one last funny lie he had. So I would have said, "Listen, guys, I get it, man. Your grocery bills are up, and that hurts, right? And I've been there. Well, Trump can't say that, but and I know how tough it is, and that's why we came up with 3 proposals that we think can help fix it. But Trump can't say that because he didn't come up with anything, literally, right?
Okay, so Cenk here apparently knows everything. He's going to give Trump a masterclass on how to be a conventional politician. I get it, man. Your grocery bills are up. I feel your pain. Here are 3 proposals. And he's right. That's where every politician consultant will tell you to say. It's a classic playbook, but here's the thing. Donald Trump didn't win the presidency by following the classic playbook. This idea that Trump needs to say, I feel your pain, is a fundamental misunderstanding of his appeal. People don't look to Trump for empathy in the traditional sense. They look to him for straight action, for someone who is actually doing something, rather than just emote about anything. When he said, I inherited a mess and I'm fixing it, that is his version of I hear you. It's not a soft, comforting whisper. It's a roar of determination. And let's be honest, how many times have you heard politicians say, I feel your pain, only for nothing to actually change? It becomes a hollow phrase, a cliche. Voters are savvy enough to see through that performative empathy, that performance. They'd rather have somebody who says, yeah, things are bad, and I'm going to kick some butt to make them better, even if it lacks the warm fuzzies. Cenk's suggestion about 3 proposals is also textbook. But what if Trump's proposal is his overall approach to the economy? Deregulation, lower taxes, America First trade. He's not going to roll out 3 bullet points in a national address like it's a PowerPoint presentation. His entire platform is the solution. And when he rattles off numbers, even if the host deems them exaggerated, he's trying to communicate that the overall direction is positive, despite the hiccups. The hosts consistently accuse Trump of being a con man, but then they turn around and say he should adopt the very tactics that actual con men do, or at least highly manipulate politicians use. I feel for you, I have empathy, vague promises, vague proposals. Trump's bluntness, while often shocking, is precisely what made him not a typical con man in many voters' eyes. He tells you what he thinks, often without a filter, don't get me wrong. And that authenticity, even if it's bombastic, is a huge part of his appeal.
But I would have come up with something to actually address the issue and then come and told American people, I feel your pain. That is really smart politics. And I would hope that the president actually would, but we all know that Donald Trump has no empathy. Just that Rob Reiner reaction alone proves it spectacularly. He can't get himself to say, I hear you. You're right. There is a problem. He'll never say it. And so it's that and when you're up, you might be able to get away with that. But when you're down and people are worried about the state of affairs, him not saying it, him not actually addressing the issue at all is terrible. After you did that, then you could pivot to, but hey, look, gas prices are down. This is this and this is that, and give a positive reinforcement for your message and your policies. And that'd be the savvy way to handle it. Instead, Trump said that the average family is paying $5,000 to $10,000 less in energy costs per year. Come on. Who doesn't know that they're not saving $10,000 in energy costs?
Exactly. So you're proving my point, Cenk. I'm right, you're wrong. And by the way, last night, several close Trump allies told Mehdi Hassan's outlet Zeteo that it was shocking that anyone in the White House would think that this speech was a wise idea. As they put it, the speech didn't refocus the national conversation. It wouldn't move the needle. And it did not look like a strategic move of somebody operating from a position of strength. Yeah,
But
he was
Anna,
defensive. The whole speech was defensive.
that's true, but that doesn't go to the point that we're discussing / debating. I hear you. So I would have given the speech. I just wouldn't have given this crappy speech filled with lies, because that only further frustrates people. It does not
Yes.
help, right? So the idea of giving a speech here to, support people around the holidays makes a ton of sense, but not if you do it this way. It further aggravates them.
And there you have it, folks. Another masterclass in media misdirection that completely misses the point of why so many Americans support Donald Trump. It's not about the perfectly polished speech. It's about the fight. What do you think? Did the media get it wrong? Or is Trump truly a con man, as they claim? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching and listening to our video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We'll talk with you the next time we need to uncover the real truth.